This is the Culpeper County Animal Shelter. And in there is where Freddie, the free-range rooster, that outlaw who enraged somebody with his crowing, is being held prisoner since his capture by police early Saturday morning. Down this hall, past meowing cats, and in a cage next to a howling puppy stands Freddie, who just a few days ago was the darling of Spencer Street and the area around the County Farm Service in Culpeper. He was the neighborhood pet, roosting under this English boxwood, crossing Spencer Street at will, looking for loose corn and bugs along the railroad tracks near the Culpeper feed store. Everybody loved Freddie, whose alias became Chick-fil-A down by the railroad tracks.
Freddie was kind of like the mascot for the store. Every morning somebody was here at about 6 o'clock opening the store and fed him. And then when the employees would come into work, they were constantly feeding him. Well, when he first showed up, it was back early in the spring. He apparently was across the railroad track here, and somebody had apparently chased him up on this side, and he was out here in the streets in the morning there, and I'd take a little handful of scratch feed and put out there, and he'd come up to it and get it. And I guess it's just like any other type of animal. He found that way he could get a meal at, and he was using us for a meal, and he used to stay back here in our hay bay when we had, well, it was bad. If it was really bad, he'd get up underneath our trucks in the evening and sleep there, and then he'd go across the street if it wasn't pouring down rain or something, and sleep under the guy's one of the neighbor's bushes there in the evenings. Part of the customers would come in and say they hadn't seen him before. Did you know you had a rooster out front? And of course, we would then go into a conversation how the rooster got there, and they kind of grinned and laughed about it and thought it was a good idea to have a pet down at this end of town.
But then someone became annoyed with his early morning crowing and called animal control. Soon the lovable rooster became a hunted outlaw, with police patrols looking for him all hours of the day and night. For several days, Freddie spent much of his time hiding among the boxwoods and grain bins until finally the law caught up with him. This is where the police nabbed Freddie. 3 police cars, 5 policemen came in at 3 o'clock in the morning and surrounded this bush, which has now been cut down and trimmed so that no future rooster can sit there and roost there. And they surrounded him and they chased him out. And from reports, he gave them a good fight until they finally nabbed him somewhere up in this yard. And then they hauled him off to the animal shelter. Now Freddie paces in solitary confinement, hoping that somebody will send him a hidden hacksaw in a bag of corn. He'd like nothing better than to bust out of this place.
I think that the employees really miss him because it's like a pet, kind of like having a dog or a cat that people have at home, except we happen to have a rooster here, and so he's obviously been a loss to us in the thing for an animal that seemed not to be bothering anybody other than obviously waking somebody up that was complaining. We are going to miss him, no question about that. The folks at the animal shelter say that Freddie will soon be adopted out to a good home where he can live in the country and chase all the young pullets around that he wants. But the folks in this neighborhood will miss him. This is Donnie Johnston for Fredericksburg.com.